what I learned this week is that influenza occurs in humans, swine, birds, dogs, horses, and marine mammals.
So like there's like whale flu?
Dolphin fever. That's right.
Dolphin fever.
What I ask,
I knew a guy who had dolphin fever once.
Did you? So I said some of our patients may have dolphin fever. What I want to know is, how do you know if a manatee has malaise? Aren't they all kind of
chill?
Yeah. Like, who checks the dolphin? Like, do you just feel it? Mm. But I found out they can, so they can spread the flu in their pods. Also, they can die of pneumonia. And I said,
when they have lungs, right?
Yeah, but I said an animal that lives in the ocean lives in the water can die of pneumonia. Someone tell it to close its blowhole.
Do they sneeze out of their blowholes when a dolphin sneezes? Do you like
you plug its nose and it blows out the top? Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Pod This. My name is Andy Moore, and I'm one of your hosts. I'm joined here by Scott Melson. Hello, Scott.
What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
You know, I'm hanging in there. Doing okay.
Good. Welcome. Good to see you. Also joined today is Crystal Yosef. Hello, Crystal.
Hi. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How are you?
Doing all right. Glad it's Friday. Surprised and shocked at the same time, but we made it. So
it's been a long week, huh?
Yeah.
And then also Grant Herms from News 9.
Hello, hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm well. I apologize for the way I sound this week. I'm a little under the weather.
Well, that's okay. That's no problem. All right. For those of you at home that are listening to this is our first episode in our new studio.
We have a studio.
How exciting is that?
We've grown from being like the little wooden podcast to being a real podcast.
We said goodbye to Upper Room Studios.
We did. The Upper Room will miss us, but...
and now we're here in...
this is a way better situation.
It is, and now we're here in Studio 430, as we're calling it, right?
That's right.
That's right, and we've got a sign. I am trying to navigate both recording. Our sign, I used Scotch tape, and it fell off the wall twice. There's dents in it now, which is really disappointing.
Got to use gaff tape, man.
Well, if I had that, I'd left it at home. So we are here at Studio 430, two of our good friends, and we are going to be recording. If you're listening on your mobile device or on the internet, what you should know is that we are also recording this in video for the first time. It probably is not going to work out as well as we had hoped, but we can give it a go.
In video. This is exciting.
Right. You actually are on TV, so you said you always know where the camera is.
Yeah, I'm hyper aware of where cameras are at all times.
Right.
Are we in Technicolor?
We are in Technicolor. I can adjust the color, all kinds of things.
Live in Technicolor. I love it.
We've got a great show for you today. I'm certain that this first go round with video will be a complete mess, and then we'll fix it. And as we do,
because that's what we do.
Because that's what we do in subsequent visits. Already, so I'm using this. It's a Mevo camera. If you want to Google that, we should actually do an episode now where we show our podcast equipment.
We do. We've got enough gear now. We can justify it. I feel
It looks really good. Like, it's so legit. You got hands like you're like Alicia Keys at the Grammys. You got hands over here.
Well, that is a high compliment. If only
you're like
that was the case.
That is the highest of technical compliments. That is amazing.
There is nothing about me that is remotely similar to Alicia Keys.
Badass.
I'm not wearing makeup, so that's my Alicia Keys.
You did have those braids.
Nice.
Right, Andy had those long braids at one point.
Right, yeah, if only. No,
pictures.
There are no pictures. In 8th grade, I did have long hair down to my chin, but that was more like Kurt Cobain than it was like Alicia Keys. And there are literally no photographs of that.
Angst.
Yes.
So much angst.
It's very, very much angst.
We've all been there.
Let's start the episode by a quick shout out to the class in the OU School of Social Work, Dallas Pettigrew's class. I don't know the name of the class, but I spoke to them earlier today, and they requested a shout out on the podcast. They were all subscribing while we spoke. So
thanks, guys.
Everyone, Danny, Rami, Caitlin, that's who asked questions. I don't remember all of them, but thanks for participating. Thanks for having me speak to your class about advocacy and the many things that we do. In today's episode, we're going to talk about some news roundup stuff. And see, the video is just jumping around. I've got it set so we can go to wherever it sees movement, and it jumps around randomly. So we'll just see how it goes. I'm excited to watch it. Anyway, in this episode, we're going to talk about some of the laws that were passed this week, our news roundup as usual, election coverage from what happened in Tuesday's election. A lot of local races. I got my absentee ballot in the mail yesterday for the next election on March 5th. I was like, whew, I literally just voted.
It's a shout out to the state election board right there, man.
That's true.
They're making sure you are well prepared.
I am. And then we're also going to visit with Senator McCortney and discuss some medical marijuana here in about 10 minutes. So I think this may be a little bit different. We got started a little bit late today, and adding video is a whole new level of complication. So we're going to maybe talk about a couple of issues, and then we'll call Senator McCortney and get into the medical marijuana. And then we're also going to talk about a story that you did, Grant, about who should we know who writes the bills?
Yeah, it's the entire reason I'm here this week, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why you came on last week, was just in preparation.
That's not true. I love being here.
Well, we like having you.
Man.
All right. Well, let's talk about constitutional carry first.
Must we?
We must.
Yeah.
This is one of the big issues of the session, and it's halfway done.
Yeah, so the House passed off the floor this week a bill, and you know I am not going to call it constitutional carry. I'm going to take a page from the folks over at Non-Doc and call it permitless carry, because that's actually what the bill is. So this is a gun. This is a bill that allows anyone over the age of 21 to carry a gun anywhere they want to that's not otherwise restricted. Just because, like, you don't have to have any training, you don't have to have a permit, you don't have to have a license. You can go buy a gun, carry it on your person wherever you want to go. Now, if it's a business or private property that posts that there are no weapons allowed, you can't carry it in those places, I believe. Interestingly, you also cannot carry it into the House chamber in the Capitol. There was Representative Shane Stone attempted to add an amendment saying that you could go ahead and carry into the Capitol. I'm a little confused why that was voted down.
I'm not,
because I mean, all the arguments are that this makes us like a lot safer and it makes all these public spaces safer. But I don't know why it wouldn't make the Capitol safer. But anyway, so you can't carry it in the Capitol where the lawmakers are, but you can carry it anywhere else. And it's 21 and up, and it's also for folks 18 and up who are in the armed services. It excludes convicted felons and also folks who have adjudicated mental illnesses.
Right.
But other than that, man, you can pack anywhere you want to go. I saw this bill passed this week, and I texted Andy and I said, man, it's really great to see like what a change it is now that we have like a much more moderate legislature.
Right.
How much different, like we're not focusing on social issues and guns in the first 2 weeks anymore. Oh wait.
That's right. That was a funny text. It's like, it's another year where we talk about guns and abortion right up front. So it's completely different, and yet just the same as it always is.
Yeah.
The bill is interesting. Because for the point you brought up, which I'm glad you brought it up, that most of the people who voted for it also voted for the ban from the Capitol building.
Yeah.
I was talking recently with a lawmaker who I won't name here, but they had said that they already don't have enough security at the Capitol.
Really?
Right now. Yeah.
So why shouldn't they all be allowed to carry guns and make it safer?
Said, this lawmaker said there will be a shooting at the Capitol because they have. So
can you tell me what party this?
I cannot.
Okay.
Their security is so poor. It is from the party you would not think it would be from. How's that?
You know,
okay.
and
that narrows it down.
And here's the other thing that's really frustrating about this is that I know for a fact, and again, these are off the record conversations, right? But like, I know for a fact that there are a number of people who voted for this who think it is a terrible idea, but they vote for it because they feel that if they don't, they're going to get primaried and they're going to lose.
Most gun owners think this is a bad idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
81% of Oklahomans think it's a bad idea.
So what's funny is I saw someone comment on Representative Carol Bush's Facebook page that said 80% of Oklahomans want this. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the opposite, but I haven't actually seen the polling or the studies of either one. I'm sure you've got it
if I can find
at your fingertips there.
So is there anything to why, we can call it permitless effectively, but it was called constitutional?
Because the Constitution says that you should have the right to bear arms, but it is a very
that's not what it says.
Right? No, it doesn't. But
I think just from a late, I remember seeing a tweet that said constitutional. I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. And then
no, it's good branding.
Right.
Yes, which I know you'll appreciate.
Right.
It is savvy branding.
Get it done, I guess, but
right. Well, and I think the real issue is that they it's like, I mean, a similarly polarizing issue, right? Is like pro-life has been the folks that are opposed to abortion, but the truth is the other side is not unopposed to life, right? No one's anti-life,
Right.
And so the fact that they are trying to like limit this to one side to make it, well, it's either constitutional or it's unconstitutional. Like, well, no, actually, that's not at all what the Constitution says. It's just we shall have a militia so that in times of need, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's not however they're phrasing it. Scott, do you?
I'm trying to find the poll.
All right. So, but yeah, basically anyone over the age of 21 could just carry it. During the debate, the floor debate, I did like that someone said, what would stop someone from just carrying their rifle in front of a school and walking on the sidewalk? And the bill author said, well, law enforcement would get involved. And they were like, but he's not breaking any laws. Just because there's someone carrying a gun on the sidewalk doesn't make it illegal.
As of the day that this passes the Senate, which it will, and Governor Stitt signs it, which he will, then...
Right.
Yeah.
You can tote them guns all around. I just remember I was in a donut shop in Edmond several years ago, and there was a man with a son, or a daughter, excuse me, and she was probably 4, and he was in there. This was like early on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and he was wearing like athletic shorts, and he had his gun clipped to his pocket, so it was just like hanging, like kind of dangling there precipitously, and his daughter was like looking for the donut, case, and I was like, there's no one up, right? It was like 8 o'clock, and I was like, why do you need a gun in a donut store at 8 o'clock on a Sunday in Edmond? Like, there's no, I don't care if you have one, but it just seems like the risk. Like, I barely had my keys in my wallet and my phone, and like, what else? I didn't even have like real pants on.
Yeah.
Like, I had pants, but not real pants. And I was just like, okay, this seems egregious, but that's me.
How do you guys feel about the argument that we don't have proper gun training in the first place in the state, and therefore it's so ineffective now we might as well not have it? That was brought up frequently on the floor.
Like, it's bad. So
I mean, I don't know if you guys have taken the concealed carry classes. I have on several different occasions. I don't actually have my license. I don't own a gun.
Did you fail the class?
What? Well, you can't. Like, there is almost
like,
no way to fail the class unless you like turn the gun backwards or something. Like, you go to,
Which it looks clean.
you go to a range. We fired the entire clip, 15 rounds or whatever, 12 rounds, down range, and then you sit in a class all day, and they basically just tell you the laws, which is, in any other venue, is your job anyways to know the laws.
Right.
So it's interesting that we don't really have a great system for teaching people how to use their firearms in the first place. But how do you guys feel about that being an argument for just scrapping the need for that in the first place?
Yeah, I feel like if the training is inadequate now, then they should maybe make it adequate first. Call me crazy.
No, that's
Call me maybe.
that's a great point, right? Like, that's like saying, man, the seatbelts that we have in cars are really not very effective, so we should just like not have seatbelts, right? As opposed to make seatbelts that work better, or our stoplights like don't work, so like why
Just
get rid of the stoplights because they're just not very good.
I think our next law should be everybody gets a horse, and then we can really just have it like a little Wild West.
I would love that.
Constitutional carry, but only 6 shooters with ivory handles, and then you have to carry them either on your hips. What's he say on Tombstone? This brings us back. Someone who doesn't go heels. That's what he says.
right.
If we were the characters from Tombstone, who'd be who? Here.
I'm Wyatt.
Does that make you Doc? It does.
I would prefer to be Doc. I think
Yeah.
I'd prefer to be Doc.
Yeah,
Am I a Masterson? Who am I then?
that could be.
Yeah. Bat Masterson was a badass too.
In my heart, I'd like to be Sam Elliott in every movie he's in.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
But like, it makes me laugh because it makes me think like when you go to New Orleans, you're like, we can drink in the streets.
Right.
And like you come here for like a bachelor party and everybody's like, we can just have guns. And, like walk around Bricktown with guns. Like,
Right. Is that a
is
rental
that like our
service?
thing? I don't know.
If you don't have to have a permit, you could like rent guns out and people could just walk around with them.
It's like, yeah.
That sounds like the heaviest bachelor party. Just
I
like
know.
I'm like describing how people drink at bachelor parties in New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah.
To like just carrying
Just
that many
as many
firearms in
guns as
Bricktown.
With one of those like whatever it's called, like the
Bandolier.
Yes, yeah. I was like a sash with bullets. Yeah, a bandolier.
It's just that ridiculous to
It
me.
is ridiculous. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, it's time to call Senator McCortney. So let's give him a ring. And again, for those of you watching at home or listening, we have no idea how this is going to work. So hopefully, we've got too many devices now. I'll speak first.
This is fantastic audio.
I feel like I'm prank calling a senator.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Senator McCortney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is Andy Moore, obviously, and I'm here with several people. Scott Melson, of course.
Hey, Senator, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good to talk to you again.
We're also joined by two of our guests we have in studio, Grant Herms from News 9, who you may know, and then
Sure.
Crystal Yosef, who's a friend of ours and has been involved with us for a while. So we're all sitting in the same room. We have a new setup and a new studio, so you're our first phone call. So I apologize if it sounds bad or weird.
It's good.
Good. Well, hey, we wanted to visit with you about medical marijuana. So you chair the joint committee, right?
Correct.
And this was a big week for you guys.
It definitely. And let me right off. I co-chaired the joint committee with Representative Eccles. I was the Senate chair.
That's true. That's fair. We don't want to leave out Leader Eccles on that, but and we hope to have him on here soon. He's a friend of the pod. He's been on in the past, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Great. Senator, tell us a little bit about what happened this week.
Right. So this week on Wednesday we had our 13th meeting, and we passed unanimously, which means it had House Democrat, House Republican, Senate Democrat, Senate Republican, all supported a pared down version of the Unity Bill, which really puts into law in probably maybe a proper way is the best way to say it, 788.
Okay, so it's doesn't necessarily amend, but it improves upon, we'll say, changes some of the things that were passed in the original law that passed in the election last year. Will there be anything that those of us here, like regular folks, will feel like that the law is different, and how it is carried out?
The biggest thing I think that people will see is a safer product. And so, I mean, when you say for regular people, I'm not sure exactly what. The
general public, I guess.
Yeah. For the general public, no, it's not you won't really see any big difference. For those who have a license for medical marijuana, they're going to, sometime in the not too distant future now, see that their product has been tested. They'll have labeling that tells them exactly what this specific marijuana has in it, how strong it is, some of those things, and also just they'll have the knowledge that it's safe. It doesn't have any toxins in it. It didn't have any bad fertilizers used on it, all of those types of things. And so it's much more for those people who need the medicine. They'll see a difference and probably, hopefully, a higher quality product and definitely a safer product.
Interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me because we expect that, whether it's medication or vitamins or something, that there's some kind of standard or some testing that has occurred. I mean, we've got a puppy at home, and I've been buying all kinds of bizarre dog treats to try to keep them interested. And I find myself reading the labels on dog food and dog treats in ways I didn't anticipate. I think it makes sense that if we are going to treat medical marijuana as a medication, that maybe we would have some kind of standards for testing. And like you said, fertilizer. I have a garden at home, and I try to grow it as organically as I can. I'm guilty of using Miracle Grow on occasion because I really like tomatoes, and I want more of them. But if I was a medical marijuana user and I found out that they were pumping up the weed full of like bizarre chemicals, it might give me pause.
Absolutely, and marijuana is, and this is all stuff I never thought I would know, but it leaches out of the ground a whole lot more than most plants do. And so even just things as basic as your soil, if you plant that marijuana somewhere where the ground is polluted and you don't even know it, it's going to leach all of those things out of the ground. And so, I mean, we're having to test for heavy metals, because just you'll find that in soil sometimes, and if it is in that soil, they will be in that plant.
Yeah, so this is an example of when you become a legislator, you become an expert in things that you never knew you'd learn about, right?
Yes, I love to say before June, the most I knew about marijuana is that I've been to a handful of Van Halen concerts in my lifetime. And now I know more than I ever thought I'd know, and probably more than anyone needs to know.
I believe that. So, in addition to laying out some kind of testing requirements and verifying what the concentration or presence or absence of certain ingredients, what else does the Unity bill deal with? What else does it do?
The biggest section, I think, to me, or most important section, is that it clarifies the employer-employee relationship and how drug testing works. And that was one part after 788 passed that everyone was kind of in full freak-out mode, not knowing. And the school bus driver is the easiest example. If you've got a school bus driver who has a license for medical marijuana, does that mean that the school bus driver can take marijuana while driving the bus? Does it mean that he can take marijuana 30 minutes before driving the bus? And how do you know? And it opens up some really big problems. And so that this bill dealt with that and kind of tried to, as best we can, clarified the types of jobs that maybe you shouldn't be able to have if you have a medical marijuana license. And it clarifies the jobs that, types of jobs where the employer really has no business asking you about your medical marijuana license.
Senator Granholm's here. You're talking about the safety-sensitive job duties section of this new Unity agreement, right? That's what you're talking about?
Correct.
Which other positions, other professions fall under that category?
I do not have that list in front of me right now. I know, operators of heavy machinery are going to fall under that. Any kind of healthcare workers, pharmacists, pharmacy techs. I mean, people who are kind of you want to make sure the people counting your pills or making your medicine, especially in like a compounding pharmacy, that they're at the top of their game while they're at work. And so really that the heavy machinery and a lot of that is the key in my mind. But I don't have the list in front of me to tell you exactly who is exempt and who is not.
Sure. How far or how different are these new rules for the safety-sensitive jobs versus what we would ask people to pay attention to if you had a prescription to painkillers after a surgery or some kind of mood-altering drug that could affect your performance at work? Why would marijuana be treated differently than those classes of drugs?
Well, the biggest issue that marijuana poses is the amount of time that it stays in your system. And so I guess I'm trying to think of how to explain briefly. It's not something that you can test for and go, okay, well, you're positive, so you're high. I mean, if you're going to use marijuana in the evening and then go to work the next morning, you're going to be just fine, but there's no way really for your employer to know that. It's not clear. I mean, alcohol, it's kind of black and white. You're drunk, you're not drunk, you can do a breathalyzer. And so that clarity does not exist with marijuana. And then it, in many ways, is not all that different from if you were on some kind of opioid. I mean, it's a lot of the same concept that you probably don't want someone driving a school bus who's on some heavy duty pain meds.
Sure. I also wanted to ask, if nobody else has questions here, do you mind if I keep asking questions?
Go for it, yeah.
We have a reporter in the house.
I brought notes, Senator. I brought notes. So there are changes to who can make rules. You're going to keep the health department over OMMA, but we're going to have contracted regulatory functions among other agencies. What does that actually mean, and what does that mean for someone who's looking to get a license or looking to use their license?
So we have given the Department of Health is really going to suffer from their own awesome work that they've done over the past 9 months, and that I believe in June when the people of Oklahoma did this, the one thing that we all agreed on was that there's no way the Department of Health could handle this, and we were wrong. The Department of Health has done an incredible job at rolling out this program. And when you look at other states and the massive failure, Arkansas is the best example. They've been trying to do this for 2 years and they still can't get it right. We've been doing it since the end of June, and they have met every deadline that we didn't think they could meet. And so when we started in June, we absolutely thought that we would need to create a new agency and set it up through that new agency. And the Department of Health has done so well, we did not do that. We've kept it in the Department of Health just like 788 said it should be. We do give the Department of Health quite a bit of power to contract with people inside and outside of government that they need to contract with. And, some of that is software vendors, and some of that is, laboratory companies. And we don't want the state of Oklahoma to set up a lab. We would much rather private labs do this work, and the state just contract with those private labs. I'm pretty sure those private labs would be better at it than we would, even if we tried. So that's kind of the contracting side. It is a huge, huge undertaking to regulate this industry for sure.
Senator, it's Scott Melson again. So you mentioned pharmacies and pharmacists earlier. So will your regular run-of-the-mill pharmacy, Walgreens, Ralph's up in Edmond, Asbury in Oklahoma City, CVS, are people going to be able to get cannabis from those pharmacies in addition to the dispensaries, or will will you only be able to get product? And when I say you, I mean people that aren't me, and I say that because I work in healthcare. So just making sure everyone knows I do not have a medical marijuana card, nor do I need one. But for patients who need this, is the dispensary the only place that they can go, or can they go get it at a traditional pharmacy?
No, it's absolutely just from a dispensary. There. As far as I know, there are no pharmacies that are getting into the marijuana business, and in large part that's because every pharmacy has and really depends on contracts with the federal government through Medicare and Medicaid, and they are all scared to death that since this is still a federally illegal drug, they're not going to sell it out of their facility for the fear that they might lose those federal contracts. Sure. And it's just not worth the risk for them. So no, it will just be standalone dispensaries that will be selling the marijuana.
Sure.
Well, Senator, I appreciate your time, and thanks for talking with us today. We
happy to do it.
I think it's always helpful to know, and this is a brave new world for our state, right? Like, there's a lot of information that is changing on a regular basis, and a chance to kind of hear it straight from the horse's mouth, if you will, is very appreciated.
I'm happy to do it, and I appreciate the work that you guys do on digging into some of these things that it's impossible to stay out of the weeds, unintended.
Well, we try to break it down so that regular folks can understand what's happening at the Capitol.
Yeah, and I very much appreciate that, and just kind of looking at a lot of these issues, not as Democrats or Republicans, but just as people who want move the state forward and try to get these things right and have our government function well. And this is one of those things that taking off the blinders and just trying to do what the people asked us to do is a huge job all in itself. And I appreciate y'all's help on that.
Thank you. That's exactly right.
We really appreciate your time and that you're always willing to come on and answer our questions. We're really grateful for that. So thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
All righty. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you to Senator McCortney for joining us there on the phone.
I always like talking to that guy.
He's always pleasant.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Also, he's so unexpected all the time. Like, he's great on Twitter. He's great in person. And then you meet him, and he doesn't look like someone that you would expect to be so involved in medical marijuana and social media and those kind of things. He's just a good person.
He's a good person. I also think, he's been, this is his third year, right? So his first term, but his third year, I think.
It's going to be his third appearance on the pod as well.
Yeah. For someone who's relatively still at the beginning of their potential state legislative career, he's real savvy too.
He is real savvy.
Like he's good at what he does, I think.
He is. All right. Well, let's continue talking about medical marijuana. I forgot that we've got sound effects for this. That's right. There it is. All right, Crystal, you were awfully quiet during that phone call, but last week you said you've got feelings about this.
Well, just absorbing mostly, not really questions for him in a dedicated fashion, but I do have a couple of clients that are in the cannabis space, so I'm learning more from that standpoint and how, and maybe they're just saying this, but I don't think they are, like, you're going to keep the music on the whole time? I like it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I didn't know if I was, like, waiting for it to wind down.
No, it sets the mood, yeah.
Okay. But so my first client in this space was Lucky's Grow Supply. So they're off of Broadway Extension.
That's a good name.
Yep, they provide any and everything you need from just a supply standpoint, things you wouldn't even think of, soil, and it's all premium products. So it's things that you could use to cultivate your garden.
Interesting.
Soil, lights, the containers you need to, if you're doing like a home grow. You go in there and it's like Ace Hardware, but for
weed.
Yeah. And the guys
awesome.
are super cool, but the thing they have like this really cool bar area and they want you to just come up and like you can talk to them, like they're gonna have drinks and stuff eventually, I think.
Right.
But like you can just go in and talk to them, go up to the bar, like to a bud tender, and get all the insight. Get all the insight that you need from these guys, and they're super knowledgeable. But the biggest thing is like they just want to help destigmatize things, and that passion comes through. And they connected me with these guys that are hosting an expo March 2nd and 3rd that I am working on. It's going to be at the State Fairgrounds, and it's going to be over 100 vendors in the same space. There'll be classes and workshops throughout the weekend. But these guys are also working on a campaign called Okla 57, and it's something that I don't know.
I saw this online.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because 57 has a.
Well, so 57 it was 57% of the vote.
Right, that's right.
For
okay, I was
788.
like, I saw. There's a reason for that number. Yeah,
and
that's what it is.
And then also it's the 57th legislature, which coincidence, but cool. So
well done.
That's the Green Grow Expo, right?
Yeah, so it's the Green Grow Expo, and it is it'll be over 2 days. I think it's going to be a really good time. I think, but what most people probably, like I would go even if I wasn't working on it because I'm just super curious about the industry. But that's the thing you find with Okla 57, they wanted to find a way to tell these patient stories and share the fact that these patients are like, what we really wanted was safe, legal access to medical cannabis, and that's what they got. And so these testimonials are all across the board, and they're amazing and come from all over the state. So those are really my 2 points, and obviously a little shameless plug for something that I'm working on. But again, just like the passion of all the people in this industry that are working behind the scenes. Of course they're going to make money off of it, but they're like, we're helping people, helping to enhance people's lives. So interesting.
I think a lot of our listeners know that I've worked with HIV patients for about a decade now, and certainly a lot of them are marijuana users for various reasons, and including historically for the HIV community, dealing with things like wasting syndrome and stuff, appetite stimulants, whether it's actual marijuana or some kind of medical variant thereof, have been commonly used for this community. And so this is something that our patients are definitely paying attention to. our program's federally funded, and so we are not providing any kind of guidance on that. But I know a number of patients who have been using. I mean, we've known for a long time, and now now it's legal, and they've got a card and that kind of thing. So it's a different from talking to the senator. It's helpful to know that, like, I mean, things like dosage and stuff. As Scott, as you have said many times, as a physician, treating it like a medication is advantageous in lots of ways, because then I mean, even we've been giving our puppy CBD oil. I don't know if it works, but like, also, I mean, I bought one bottle.
You and everybody else.
Right, yeah. I mean, I bought it like at the doggy daycare place, and then my wife bought it somewhere else, and she's like, well, this is the high dose stuff. And I was like, what's a dose? Nobody knows. Like, it was like, how many drops? And I was like, listen, I just give them half a squeezy bottle, whatever what's that thing called? Dropper?
Eyedropper? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that, as like kind of putting my other hat on, that's tough as a doctor. So I have patients ask me, I mean, every week, if not every day, about using medical cannabis for various things. I should say most of the time on the pod, we refer to me as a pediatrician. I'm also an internal medicine doctor, so I see adults, and those are the ones that are asking me about cannabis. I don't have parents coming and asking me about
kiddos asking.
No, I don't. I've not yet had anybody ask me about a medical marijuana card for their kiddo. But the thing that's hard is, you know, I hear the stories too from patients, people who have used it, and there are people for whom they really feel like it's life changing. But the thing that's tough for us as doctors is like, okay, so you have chronic pain from a cancer that has metastasized to your spine, which is one of the most painful things that someone can have. And it's like, how much do you take, right? Like, do you how much of what concentration of how often, and so that's one of the things that I think is tough for us, is to know, like, it's really difficult, I think, for doctors to give, you know, like sound, like
right.
medical advice, because quite frankly, like, there are lots of kind of anecdotal stories about how many people that it's helped, but when you try to find like rigorous, like, you know, data about how effective it is, for the most part that doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist because it's been illegal to federal level for so long, so no one can study it. Right?
Is any state good at tracking those things now? The states that have had medical marijuana the longest?
I don't know the answer to that. Most of the studies I've read that have kind of influenced the way I feel about it have been done overseas. Mm-hmm. So there was a really good study that was done in Israel a few years ago. There was a study in the UK that was done. And I think that there are things, for, you know, full disclosure, like, I voted for the bill. Like, I think that there are things that it can help with. I myself don't I don't prescribe it. But for patients of mine that want it, I refer them to the Medical Marijuana Authority website and say that is where you can get a list of doctors that you can talk to.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from medical marijuana to talk about some local election coverage real quick. There's a couple of things. One article we'll post on our blog, and as a reminder, you can see these links that we're discussing on our blog, letsfixthisok.org/blog, as you might have guessed.
Blog's a funny word.
It is a funny word. What is it?
Weblog, as I assume.
Weblog, right.
Weblog.
But,
right, yes.
But I mean, it's shocking that Weblog didn't catch on, right?
Right, but then, like,
hey guys, did you read my weblog this week?
Hi guys, I've got a blog.
I posted a weblog. It was really good.
But also, like, vlog for, like, video blog, but that would be like video weblog, like.
They both sound like something that comes out of your mouth when you have some sort of stomach disorder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a bad guy on Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Blog the Borg.
The Borg. Oh. Yes. Resistance is futile. That's God. We get in so many nerdy things.
We really, really do.
That's so nerdy.
Guys, don't forget to read my blog.
It's our nerd voice, apparently.
So it is. I was actually practicing earlier today in preparation for our OK Valentines that we'll read here in a few minutes. But so in the city of Oklahoma City, there's great consternation about the fact that someone used the word "young" in a headline, but 4 of our wards were up for city council election, and 2 that I think got a lot of press. That was Ward 2, where James Cooper won, of Oklahoma City's first openly gay city council member, and then Ward 6 with Jo Beth Heyman. And I feel like has she been on the blog? Was she on at our live?
No, so
that was I'm thinking of Carrie Bloomer that was on when we were at Oklahoma.
So Joe, Beth, and I have talked several times about her coming on.
Are you in her ward?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
It's funny. We're so close to each other, but we're in separate wards.
I'm in her ward. Her sign's in my yard.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah.
So James Cooper knocked doors, and so did Joe Beth. I feel like Joe Beth was a bit of an upset, though, right? I mean, she was outraised 10-1 by Nathaniel Harding, also a good guy, and I would say a friend of the pod. And Joe Beth is someone who does not own a car, who takes public transit and bicycles everywhere, and they've made her and her husband Marty have made choices to live close enough to their employment and other things that they can do that, which I think is a bold choice and certainly difficult. She talked about having to go speak at a local business that's up off a memorial near Mercy Hospital. And so trying to take her bike and the city bus up there are bus lines that go to Memorial, but then she had to ride her bike down Memorial for 2 miles to the location.
Ooh. Wow.
And I was like, if you've been on Memorial out there, like near MacArthur, Meridian, it's a speedway, even on the access roads.
Right.
And she's not like riding like a road bike. Like she's riding like a cruiser, beach cruiser kind of thing. A townie, yes. Hello. And that would be a harrowing experience, to say the least.
It would. I think that you make a really good point about Nathaniel too, because Nathaniel's is a great guy. I think if you lived in Ward 6, you didn't have a bad choice. In this election. And in fact, Nathaniel and I actually talked about this because he was out knocking doors, and he and I chatted, and he saw my Joe Beth sign, and I was like, man, I think you're a great dude, but this is where I got to pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah, but how blessed are we to have great choices?
Absolutely.
Same thing in Ward 2, which is where I live. James came by and knocked doors. I pulled up one night, I think after the podcast actually, and he was at the door talking to my wife. And she asked some question, and he said, "Hang on, I've got a binder in the car." And ran to his car, came back with a binder, and she was like, "You've won me over right now." The fact
would she have left you for him if he was
no
open to that? No. Okay,
but she appreciated his preparation there. But also like Marilyn Davidson that was running for Ward 2, who was the only conservative in the race, and is also a friend, would have been a great choice. Mike Dover was a great choice as well. He used to run Variety Care, which is a federally qualified health center. And so I think, man, Oklahoma City is somewhat blessed. I'm sure other cities are as well. I had a friend that got elected out in the city of Bethany to city council, and I'm reminded every time that every vote counts, right? So
every vote counts, and it is also the Ward 2 race is similar, but I know the numbers better for Ward 6. It's also an indication of just how much you can do by just pounding the pavement, right?
Yeah, knocking doors makes the difference.
And I want to emphasize, like, Nathaniel did that too. He's been out knocking doors hardcore for the last at least, I think, 8 to 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. I know though that Joe Beth has been out knocking doors for 6 months, and I know that because that was the first time she knocked on mine. And I texted Andy earlier this week. Sunday morning, I was up a little early, so I decided to read through all the campaign finance reports for the city council election,
as one does,
right? Just because that's what you do when you're.
Hi guys, I've read the finance reports,
and it was really striking to see. I want to say Joe Beth's total was like $14,000, maybe 16, something like that, and Nathaniel had raised close to 141. Yeah, and so that's just kind of goes to show that, like, you can, even if you're at a significant financial disadvantage. Anything can happen in politics, man.
I think that this election, especially in Oklahoma City, we should get to Evan too in a second, because that's a fascinating and kind of fun.
It's a West Wing episode.
Yes, it is.
Indeed,
it is.
Yes.
But like this election for Oklahoma City shows some real shifts in who wants to serve and who's voting. I mean, it's the first time in some time that there'll be 2 women on the council in Oklahoma City. I think it's the first time ever there'll be 2 members who are African American.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Along with Cooper, who's the first openly gay member.
Right. Yeah.
And then the trend, which I know there's some consternation about this, as you said earlier, but the members younger than 40 outnumber members older than 40, which is a first.
Right. Which, I mean, I think it just is represents like the shifting demographics of Oklahoma City, right? So
Right.
like we're seeing folks that are younger, more diverse, and arguably maybe farther left in general terms. The Oklahoma City urban areas are generally shifting.
And also generationally, people who tend to be younger, especially Gen Xers and millennials, because the top range for millennials now is, I think, 36.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I'm 37. I'll
I
be
think
38
it's
soon.
38.
Is it
only
38?
because
Yeah.
I'm technically 2 years within that window,
Okay.
and it makes me very upset.
Yeah, we're like Crystal and I are the eldest.
Same.
We are the
So-
eldest
I
millennials
don't
there,
want to
right?
be a millennial.
right.
So bad.
It'll also be interesting to see, and this is a broader thing about who's going to run for office in the next coming years at any level. We have never had since World War II, we've not had politics through the lens other than a baby boomer's eyes. And
Yeah,
so
because
that-
Gen X got passed over.
Yeah, because you guys just want to watch the world burn.
Not me. I'm a millennial.
I know, broad Gen Xers.
you-
Use guys.
You guys.
Gen X did a lot of coke. Like Gen X did a lot of coke. I'm just saying.
Abandon half of
Gen
our
Xers.
audience.
I just called you apathetic. He just called you drug users.
I didn't. I mean, I didn't say who. I didn't say that they all did it. I'm just saying it
One
happened.
feeds the other, I think.
There was just.
Let's on that note, let's
I was
shift
like,
to
but now
Edmond.
it's our time. Great.
Right. Yeah. So let's shift over to. I want to just a shout out to the city of Bethany, where I didn't look at the final numbers, but my friend Matt out there got elected to city council, and when I saw it, he had 172 votes total. Not a margin of 172. His margin was much less, but he only had 172 votes, and I thought, man, every vote counts. Like I probably know 200 people who could vote in an election that I would have run for, and I mean Bethany is a very tiny area, and I used to live out there for years, but those small town things are a reminder. So Scott and I already talked. We're gonna try to have Matt and Bo Broadwater, who's a city council member in War Acres, because the Bethany War Acres relationship is interesting and fun anyway. But small town politics is a real deal.
I did not know that you're scrunching your fist together. I didn't know there was all this antipathy out in the western burbs.
You know, I don't.
It's weird out there. I grew up Bethany adjacent. I went to PC West High School.
Did you really?
hmm
I didn't know that.
So I grew up off 16th in Rockwell, but I mean, like
Nice.
one side of 16th is Bethany, and the other
Right.
our side is Oklahoma City.
Right? Yeah.
But it's weird. Bethany's weird.
Love it. She's like, one side's Bethany, but our side's okay.
It's like road warriors out there.
Road-
It's like bottom.
I mean, but it
bottles
is the
clanking
difference
together.
in like your streets being plowed in the winter if there's snow.
Absolutely.
Like, so that's how you kind of learn those lines. But it's the Wild West out there.
That's true. PC West. What's the mascot out there?
Patriots.
Really?
PC West Patriots.
PCO is the Pirates, right? PC
Yeah.
original,
Yep.
not O. They don't like that.
And north is PC
Panthers.
North? That's right.
That's weird.
Panthers,
All-
Patriots,
they're all
and
Ps.
Yeah, that's for Putnam. That makes a little
That
bit of
makes sense.
sense.
That makes sense.
All right, so
Do we want to say what happened in Edmond?
So I also want
we
to
have
just
to.
before we get to the dead guy in Edmond, I want to get to the I just want to give a cursory mention to Norman that shit got nasty in Norman. I don't know if you followed this race at all,
I did not. So
I was talking to someone from Together Oklahoma who lives in Norman and was like, man, I had no idea. And basically what happened is that one of the candidates was, I don't know if they still are, but was separated from his wife, just not divorced. They're going through some stuff, personal stuff, right? So they had two houses, and they were separated, but sometimes he might stay with his wife. Like they're trying to make amends, right?
they're working on some things.
Right. Their business. And so he would put his house on Airbnb, and his opponent, the other candidate, rented his house on Airbnb and went through his like medicine cabinets, his underwear drawer, and like Facebook Live the whole thing.
What?
Yes. It was like
Who
I was
won?
not her.
Okay, that's good.
I guess he won, but I was like, oh my, like that's
I would be pissed.
yes.
Wow.
So that's like talk about being up in your business. I was just like, listen, my underwear jar is not that exciting.
And I guess it's 21st century politics for you. Like
yes.
Airbnb exists. You know, you gotta
No, but
not
I mean,
do that. Maybe
Norman-
while
that's
you
the
have
thing.
to think about what not to do to that
that's the
degree.
things that I would
I
not
love it.
think about.
Like Crystal's like, I mean, I'm just saying, if you're running for something, probably should
I
Airbnb
mean,
your
it's
house.
true. Yeah. Because people ask me, like, do you want to run for office? I'm like, no, because I don't remember what I did.
Right.
I don't know what I put on Twitter last week.
Right. Hey,
But, I mean, you have to think about those
tweettheleader.com is a
things.
good thing. Just delete those old tweets because no one needs to have a record of everything they thought or said for the last decade, right? Like the world was not, humans were not built like that.
Are we going to delete any of our old pods?
Podcasts are okay. We go through these like a fine tooth comb or something. All right. So Edmund, Grant, tell us what happened in Edmond.
Shit did get weird
Well,
in Edmond.
The former mayor, Lamb, I can't think of his first name right now. It's not
Todd.
It is not Todd Lamb.
I'll tell you in just a second. Keep talking.
He was a longtime mayor twice over actually, and Charles Lamb is his name, and Charles Lamb passed away earlier this year while he was running for office, and they continued the campaign because they had to, because it was past the deadline when they could pull his name off the ballot. Also in the race is Dan O'Neill, also former Edmond mayor, and a third candidate who didn't really matter as much in this race. Sorry. But
You suck.
Lamb gets enough votes in the last election this week to remain on the ballot. So Dan O'Neill now has to run against a dead guy.
Which is awesome.
Which is amazing. Should Lamb win, the city council would decide who his replacement would be, and there's been a lot of rumor and accusation that that person will be handpicked by the Chamber of Commerce and will be not so great for the city, and there are questions about, is that a direct vote of the people and everything, but
right.
We can get to that should that happen. It is just fascinating in its own right that a dead man is on the ballot and has a chance of winning.
This is a West Wing episode, right?
Sidetrack. If you've not watched it, you need to go watch. It's season 4, episode 7 or 12,
6, 7.
I mean,
Yeah.
somewhere.
This is how Josh
somewhere
Molina
there.
came on the show.
It is.
This is how Josh Molina came on, and how Sam Seaborn. Spoiler alert. Sam Seaborn made his graceful departure.
Right. Hey, I will a quick plug, I think, for our listeners to Let's Pod This. If you are a fan of Let's Pod This or Let's Fix This, and you are a fan of the West Wing, please, if you're watching the video, I'm looking right at you, go online, tweet at Josh Molina and Rishi Herway and the West Wing Weekly. This week we've reached out to their publicist about getting them to come here, and it turns out it's all about if they want to come and if we want them to come here. And so if you will tweet at them and tell them, hey, this cool group, Let's Fix This, hosts these West Wing watch parties, we'd love for you to come. The dates are on our website in May, August, and November. We'd love for them to come. We can help. Scott, I think, has pledged to help with the airfare. We can raise money for this. We can get them to come.
Can I just say, I just checked. It is, in fact, season 4, episode 7.
Well done.
Entitled Election Night, where one Horton Wild, who is not surprising as much that he is dead as it is that he's a Democrat from Orange County, is victorious. He wins, and then there's a runoff.
All right.
It's a great episode.
Nice.
It is.
Let's shift over to Grant, to your story. We're going to do your story, and then we're going to end today on some Valentines.
Lovely.
But Scott, Grant, tell us about your story that was aired this week on News 9.
So this is a story about who writes the bills at the state legislature. It's pretty common knowledge, I should say, that lobbies, groups like Let's Fix This has not authored any bills, or
We have not.
But other groups do frequently. Industry lobbies do. Even state departments and agencies will lobby lawmakers for certain bills or amendments to bills. And I had come up with the idea several years ago, actually, to ask lawmakers, would they support putting a section on the bill that says who was, an author of this, either entirely or partially, the names of individuals, lobbyist groups, that whole thing. I heard back, so there's 149 legislators. I heard back from 9.
I have another one that wants to chime in.
Well, that's good. I got 2 more today. And 6 of them said yes.
And I mean, it's interesting because Colin Waukee, Democrat of Oklahoma City, ran a bill last year that would require this, and it didn't. I don't think it even got heard in committee.
No,
Yeah.
It didn't even get heard. That was House Bill 2535 in the 2018 session. It was interesting how this worked is we done all these interviews, but then I had sent a blanket email out to every member of the legislature saying the same thing, asking the same thing. That way, for just methodology and posterity, I didn't ask anybody a different question. There was no variation.
Sure.
Right. And a lot of nervous phone calls almost immediately after I sent that email out, mostly from lobbyists. I don't know how those lobbyists learned about this thing if this only went to lawmakers.
You're like, you weren't on the email?
Right. And
It's a mystery.
Yes. I also had someone who, at this point, I'm pretty certain is a member of the legislature who called me using a fake name, trying to
Whoa.
dig a little more into the story because they had said the way they were talking was that they were serving on committees currently and that they had been elected to office, but they didn't use a name that registered on any of the lists anywhere. Not a name of a registered lobbyist, not a name of anybody in the House or Senate.
Rory Hofnagel is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a member of the legislature.
I don't know. I still don't know who it was.
Chester Pemberton.
Yeah.
Not a member of the legislature.
Yeah, it was so bizarre. And then a lot of people who, had questions about nuance, which I thought was, they're fair to those things. I was expecting to get a lot of, yes, I'm for this, but not X, Y, and Z in this question.
Nuance meaning?
Nuance meaning like, we don't want the name of an individual, a constituent on this bill for their own privacy reasons, which is what Trent England kind of brought up in the story. Andy made good points. Andy was also in this story. It's a part of Freedom of Information Oklahoma. Full disclosure for us at News 9, several members of News 9 are also members of FOI Oklahoma.
Several?
Several.
I feel like there's just one.
At least two.
Really?
At least two. Yeah.
One of them wants to swap with you. We can discuss that
I've not
later.
been told. Okay.
I thought I texted you, but yes.
Maybe. I might have forgotten at this point. But either way, there's some overlap there in the story. They didn't have any involvement in the story itself. But just for our disclosure there.
So you read a great piece about this, which I knew everyone can find on news9.com, and we'll throw it up on the blog. I have to confess, I have mixed feelings about this.
Do go on.
Well, so this is going to shock everyone, but I'm going to reference The West Wing. So there is. So
I'm looking at an episode right now online.
Well, are you going to say this? I wonder if it's the same one. So there's an episode in season 2.
Yeah.
It is Bartlett's third State of the Union, and he gives the State of the Union, and in this speech he announces the creation of a blue ribbon commission that's going to look at reforming Social Security and Medicare. In the subsequent episodes, they're talking about how this commission will be formed, and it's very kind of like behind closed doors, and like they're all going to negotiate, but then they're not going to talk about the negotiations, and it has to be very hush-hush. And one of the main characters, Toby Ziegler, has a conversation with his ex-wife, who's a congresswoman, and she asks him, why does this have to be secret? And he says, because that's the only way that it'll get done. Because there's so many constituencies, there are so many people who have interests that if you start trying to negotiate things in public, the politics gets in the way, and so nothing ever happens. So sometimes what we hear about this backroom door stuff, the reason the backroom deals exist is so that things happen. And I think from your article, one of the things that some lawmakers kind of had as a problem are if you disclose who requested the bill, that in and of itself might jeopardize passage of what may or may not be maybe a good piece of legislation or maybe a good piece of policy. It introduces an element that is separate and apart from the merits of the bill.
That is almost exactly what Trent England at OCPA said in the story, is that it could stifle.
It's okay,
That
Scott.
it
It's
could
okay.
stifle bipartisanship. And I'm one of those people, too, that understands that the wheels of politics and government should happen partially behind closed doors in order to make concessions with one another. That those things have to happen up at the Capitol. This is more about who has input on bills in a principal manner.
Sure.
Or authors them directly, because we are talking broadly. When people hear about these things, they're talking about bills from places like the ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, which will just give form bills that have fill in your state here kind of thing, and that happens frequently. In fact, there was a bill several years ago where I can't remember the member, but they had forgotten to write Oklahoma in one of the blanks,
Right.
and it made it through.
Yeah.
I did that with a job application one time.
Yeah, it's the worst feeling. Well, I
It
did
is.
work on Marcy's Law. Marcy's Law for All is the parent company, and Marcy's Law, which was 794, passed last year, and I worked on that. All I can speak to, so I'm kind of torn on this too. My personal inclination would be to be like, oh, that's crap, don't do that. But I know the crime victims that we connected with in Oklahoma. I know the stories that we were able to tell. I know the people that were personally affected. It did come from a national organization that has seeking very high heights, but it was personalized. They worked for 2 years before they even jumped into Oklahoma. And so Oklahoma was a state that they knew. I mean, our rates of crime and, incarcerate, like all these things across the board, it just kind of made it to where Oklahoma was a good target for them as a national organization. And then we did find the bill authors to author that here. And they were two people who could get it done, and they did. And now it's a amendment, and here we are. So
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I hate to like
Andy,
pick
you did
and
have
choose.
a foil to this in our interview, though. It didn't get used in the story, but we were talking about,
Of course,
just time constraints. But it was the notion that, if someone works with a group or a lobby, they should be proud. And they should believe that they're constituents, right? I think that was the point you were trying to get across.
And I get on both sides of this, right? But and I know that I am arguably noble in a way that some people aren't, and
It's my fault that I'm just better than you guys.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, that came out wrong.
I can't help
That's
it.
not at all what I meant. But
I'm just more principled.
right.
That's how I was made.
But because there is nuance to laws, but listen, if some of the things on our legislative priority list involve transparency in government and expanded voter access and that kind of thing, and hell yeah, I'm excited. These are good things, good and noble things. I'm trying to say, but I get that there are some laws that are this is what needs to happen, but we want to be quiet about it.
And I do want to be clear that the story isn't pushing it in one direction
or
another. I'm more surprised at this point that I got so many non-responses.
Sure.
I would have been completely fine with this story.
149 people saying, yeah, that's a terrible idea.
This is a terrible idea for all of these reasons, and this is why we don't do it. That would have been a fantastic story. But it's the fact that nobody wanted to answer these questions. I should say that today I ran into both Jason Dunnington and John Eccles, and Representatives Eccles and Dunnington. I should use their proper titles. They've earned them.
John and Jason.
Yeah. They both were soft yeses to this thing, but didn't respond to my original email.
Sure.
Mickey Dollins is also a yes to this.
And I mean, I kind of swing both ways on it too, because there was a bill that was introduced, not this week, but last week and I'm not going to get into it here, but I saw it and I was like, where did that come? And I was irate, and I'm talking with other people that are, kind of involved in similar things. And we're like, where the hell did this come from? So I got on the horn, and called a legislator, and I'm talking, I'm like, when did this happen? And I was like, do you know, who wrote this? Where did this come from? Is there any way we can find out? Who requested this bill? Where did the language come from? And he was like, no, man, sorry, unless the person running the bill wants to tell you.
And see, that's interesting, because I was told by several people that you just have to ask a lawmaker and they will tell you where their bills came from. That is
it's
not true.
That's
it
not
is just
true at all.
It is patently not true,
Not at
especially
all.
a member
Right.
of the press asking.
Well,
that
and
question
You
too.
have a much harder time than Scott and I do at getting
It is one of
information.
those things.
Yeah.
It's one of those
Well,
things.
and I mean, there's a good example this week. So, Representative Chris Kennedy, who's a good guy, who's a good legislator, and has done a lot in his. This again, I think, is Representative Kennedy's third year. He's running one of the. Turn my mic
My
off.
bad. I thought that was me.
He's trying to
getting
mute
tense.
me. He's
Oh
trying
my.
to mute me. No, so Representative Kennedy is running one of the bigger bills we've seen so far. So it's a 178-page piece of legislation that is a fairly massive overhaul of workers' compensation law in Oklahoma. And on the one hand, Representative Kennedy, you could argue, is in a great position to run that bill and work on this issue because he's an attorney and works in a firm that does a lot of work and litigation in personal injury and workers' compensation. On the other hand, you can argue he's not a great person to run this bill because he's an attorney that works in a law firm that does a lot of work on personal injury and workers' compensation.
Right, sure.
And so, one thing that disclosing where bill requests come from might do in the interest of transparency is say, like, this was requested by I'm making this up, but like maybe this bill was requested by the AFL-CIO of Oklahoma, right? Like maybe it was a union, maybe it was the Oklahoma Public Employees Association, maybe it was maybe it was the teachers union, or maybe it was the Trial Lawyers Association. Like, and if you had that piece of information, that might give you as a citizen or a journalist or whatever, a prism through which that you can view the text of the bill, right? Like what the ultimate purpose is.
I mean, I think it makes for a different understanding of where it comes from and why it's being valued by this individual, especially if you happen, I mean, and this is like super in the weeds and not everyone has time for this, but like to find out like, oh, well, this is requested by Alec and they donated 20 grand to this person's campaign. And like, that's a different situation, right? So,
yeah.
All right. Let's we're kind of getting over time here, I believe. So let's
it never happens to us.
Let's end. It never happens to us. Let's end on a happier note. I'm gonna turn my bass up a little bit higher. Oh, there we go. So this week, as you guys may know, was Valentine's Day, and as we do every year, it was OK Ledge Valentines on Twitter.
That's right.
Scott, were you watching this?
I was, and they were making me laugh out loud. There were some really good ones this year.
Nice. Last year we read some of these online, and I think we should do it again this year.
Agreed.
I'm just gonna enhance the bass on all of our microphones.
Perfect.
Crystal, even
I was
you.
about to say, I don't know how I feel about that, but okay.
Just a little bit.
Just turn it up. Just crank
manly.
it.
Just
crank it.
My manly man voice.
Just to smooth it out a little bit. We're gonna
Not
read
manly.
some of these.
Sultry. You can be
I
sultry.
can be sultry.
I searched so many weird terms yesterday to get these, but
Dulcet.
that's right. We'll read some of these. Molly Fleming says, Valentine, I'll always make sure I provide a definition of my love.
Nice. Wes, who is at West Kinetic, says, fiscal impact in the streets, physical impact in the sheets.
Brett Sebastian, who used to work for the Journal Record, has said, roses are red, wooden logs float. Let members read the damn bill before you call for a vote.
Senator Julia Kirk gets in on the action and says, Dear Valentine, I'll never strike your title.
That's nice. That's a good. J.D. Baker in the mayor's office. Roses are red, violets are blue. Let's use this energy supporting the Second Amendment for human rights too.
Tyler Talley says, baby, you don't need no FOIA request to find out how much I love you.
FOIA. Got that FOIA right here.
I didn't know if people would say FOIA. Oh, nice. I got a FOIA right here.
Nicole McAfee says, Valentine, our love is like a shell bill. Always there for you when you need it most. Oh, excuse me. Let me start over. Valentine, our love is like a shell bill. Always there when you need it most. Always showing you when you almost forgot about it.
Congresswoman Kendra Horn says, Valentine, I make a motion to recommit to you.
I like that Kendra got in on this.
That's great.
That was really great.
That's awesome.
Crystal and Grant, you guys want to get in on this?
I mean, you guys got the voices
That was good.
down.
No, you
Yeah,
guys-
y'all
you guys
are
were all
crushing
set.
it. I'm
Crystal,
in-
you offer
I'm enthralled.
an ankle
Like,
week.
That was
I'm listening. This is good.
I will admit that I saved some from last year.
I didn't have a date last night, so I'm good for this.
About Romeo, man.
I did have Romeo.
Molly Fleming from the Journal Record says, Valentine, if I could, I'd declare our love in the state constitution so it would take a vote of the people to change it.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I mean, the real benefit of these is things that just go a little
Far.
a little into the weeds there, right?
Andy Moore of
Ooh.
Andy OKC says, there's nothing moderate about my feelings for you.
That's right. There's not. Candace Mitchell, love is renewable energy.
Nice.
I feel like she
Deep.
may have a vested interest in that. Let's see. Haley Jones, it wouldn't be a true... Oh, hang on. This is from last year. My love for you will never sine die.
Nice.
I will admit that I did say I'll roll your call in response to in response to E Capital Senate saying roll call in the Senate.
but it's lower. It's like I'll roll your call.
Ooh, well done there, Grant.
Shane Stone. This is a deep dive for those of you that follow the Capitol proceedings. From Representative Shane Stone, it says, "I love you more than I love asking sarcastic questions."
That's true.
That's what Representative Stone is known for,
And he
on
loves
the
that a
floor.
lot. Does anybody have Glenn Coffey's tweet about this?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Somebody keep reading so I can find that, because Glenn Coffey.
There was one from Bailey earlier. It was I think Bailey Huntsman. Is that a permitless carry in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Nice. There were a number of constitutional carry.
true.
Like, there's
Friend of the pod, Effie Craven, all the way from Maine, gets in on the action and says, "Beast it my heart.
Ooh.
One of my top 10 guys just walked in the room."
That's good. I'm gonna scroll way back to the very beginning of yesterday's OK Ledge Valentines, and Leslie Blair, who I think we will credit with
She started this.
starting this. She kicked off the day with, "Valentine, you've always been top 10 to me. Valentine's Day starts right here, right now."
Nice. Nice.
Were we supposed to echo that when you said that, or were we supposed to say that with you
Ooh, that's a
just now?
I wish. Now, in hindsight, yes.
Senator Nathan Dahm had a long one,
Oh, he did. That was a good one.
but it's very Shakespearean. Says, "Don't be too sharp, as we'll quickly make haste. Together we'll weaver to avoid all the bogs while crossing the Standridge over the bubbling brooks. Not to the left, but to the lee right. Then traverse the snow-capped mountains, first by foot, then downslope, on our Stanislavski. When will we arrive? Just one moment yet, for the night is still young. In the distance we come upon our new house. No, I don't even kid. 'Tis true what you saw, written in silk rose petals across the hall. Will Pew be my Valentine? Your reaction is merited as you think, oh Dom, to wake up and realize you fell asleep in an appropriations meeting again."
Odom.
The end.
That's well done, Nathan Dom.
Uh,
We disagree on policy,
we
but I
do.
love your OK Ledge Valentines.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 senators' names, I believe.
Well done.
In that, I don't know what that is, stanza maybe?
A stanza.
Yeah.
I will admit that myself and another advocate created a whole list of them last year. We were both a little bit tipsy and decided to make a shared Google Doc. I will read some of them. They are
Nice.
not nice. I'd lobby for your cause.
Nice.
I want you to lay me over. It's getting dirty in a hurry. I can't stand in the gallery, but I can sit and you can finish the rest. I don't understand that one. I'd like to table you. I want you to be my co-author.
It's like the shorter they are, the like.
The worst.
Yeah,
they
you're
are.
like, ugh.
It's like the I blank, you're blank.
Yeah.
If this is the direction we're taking it, then we have.
I'll gavel in your session.
I'd like to be inside your legislative chamber.
Whoa.
Oh.
Oh.
Whoa.
I'd pull your place.
Ben Felder from News OK says, "Find someone who looks at you like Pinnell looks at Stitt."
That was a good picture
That
too.
was a
That
good one.
picture.
That's a
That is
great picture.
yeah.
This one is definitely from last year. Show me your activist banner. Can I audit it? I'd call your meeting to order.
Are we the only state like this is like
Oh,
truly
no.
homegrown?
No.
Oh, okay,
Oh.
is this a thing?
Well, so shout out
Louisiana-
to Sarah
Louisiana
Graham Taylor, who started this in
in
Virginia.
Okay.
And they've had a hell of a year
They
in Virginia.
really,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's been
And
a little rough.
also Arkansas, I believe,
Yeah.
Okay.
which makes a lot of
Is
sense.
that one? I'd like to misappropriate your funds.
Yes, that's nice.
Tyler Talley, your love leaves me more breathless than the state capitol steps.
You leave me sweatier than the rotunda in May.
J.D. Baker, who's the subject of a J.D. Baker's the subject of a front page article in the Oklahoman today. It says,
Saw that.
"Roses are red, violets are blue. Let's use this energy supporting the Second Amendment for human rights too."
Didn't I just read that?
Oh, did you?
Or maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I was
Um,
sorry.
Show me your budget hole.
Nope.
Veto.
Who said that?
Veto. That's right. You've got to show me your subpoena first.
Second, no.
Yeah, these are.
Oh, I can't. I definitely can't read that one.
I will say shout out to Trey Savage, who said the Senate had sexual harassment training last week. It was his okay, Ledge Valentine. I was like, well done.
Oh, Stephen Tyler from Tower Theater says, "Who needs Netflix and chill when you can co-sponsor my bill?"
Ooh, don't you think that was a reference to Mayor Holt saying Netflix and chill during the
Someone talked to him right about that.
Yes, he figured it
Mr.
out.
Mayor.
I found Glenn Coffey's. So Glenn Coffey, former speaker. What was he? Something important in government. I meant to Google this.
It's been a minute.
But he said House sergeants wear green, Senate wear red. If you could follow their direction, that would be delightful. Hang on, let me read this again, and then maybe we'll just end here. I feel like this should be better read with like, hello. House sergeants wear green, Senates wear red. If you could follow their direction, that would be delightful. Someone doesn't. I don't understand this Valentine thing.
It's like I just have one request.
Can you? I don't. Just excuse me. I don't get it. Chase Kirby even got. I'm looking at my Google. I don't need a permit to carry you close to my heart. I guess he's a. Emily Lang. I'll never walk out on you, unless you don't fund Okla Ed.
Yeah.
Should we? Do you have one more, Scott?
I went through my list.
Went through your list. Anybody? Crystal?
No.
You haven't read any. You just vetoed a bunch, which is.
All the ones she vetoed were appropriate, I think.
This is someone I think.
There were a lot of button pushing
Telling you
ones.
which
that I
ones to just edit out.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Aaron Beckman, who I think works at the Capitol, hit the gas, move do pass, so I can get home from this Capitol dome. That concludes
Yeah.
the 2019 OK Ledge Valentines. I will say, I don't think this year was as good as last year.
Last year's was better.
I'm glad that we made a list of.
I think people are just tired.
I'm just about to say, everybody's tired.
Everything was about constitutional carry. It's just all guns.
Trace Savage from Non-Doc had a tweet last night that was like, "It's only 2 weeks in and I'm already incredibly exhausted."
I saw that.
Like, hey man, only 3 months, 2 weeks to go. We can do it.
We can do it. All right.
And when I say we, I mean I am watching from afar, and Trace and his colleagues are covering this in person every single day.
Yeah, I think this year we should send some take some cookies to the press corps again, like we did a couple of years ago.
We should.
All right.
One piece of news before we leave. Just this is not breaking or anything. It's just something I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stephen Buck. Mr. Buck.
Steve Buck.
I'm aware, but
I think his mother calls him Steven.
his given name is Stephen.
My given name is Andrew, and no
He's
one
in
calls him
trouble.
that besides
When
my
he's in
aunt.
trouble, he's Steven.
I call you Andrew.
You do. You and my aunt are it. No one else has ever called me Andrew.
Commissioner.
You, my aunt, and creditors, I think.
Steve Buck is currently he is the commissioner for the Oklahoma Justice
Juvenile.
Oklahoma Juvenile
Authority.
Oklahoma Juvenile Authority, which is the kind of criminal justice system for juveniles. But he was appointed this week by Governor Stitt to be cabinet secretary for human services and early childhood development. He was also a cabinet secretary under Governor Fallin. He's the first cabinet secretary who served under Fallin to be appointed by Governor Stitt. Steve is a good guy, and I think will be excellent in that role.
I agree.
I was just going to give a shout out to him and say congratulations, Mr. Secretary, and we hope to have you on the show.
I agree. Yeah, he's a good guy. I think he's a fan
Yeah.
of Let's Fix This.
Yeah, he's a good
I'd
dude.
say he's a friend of the pod.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
All right. Well, let's. One quick announcement also is that next Thursday, the 21st, February 21st, is our first Capitol Day of the year. If you are a listener, expect to see a lot of emails and social media tweets about that. Also, shout out to Megan Funderburk, who is our new intern, our first intern for Let's Fix This. I'm super excited. We Skyped today and
Can't believe
made
we
several
have an
plans.
intern.
I know, we're super legit. We got a studio. We got an intern. Things are looking up.
What are the job duties of an intern at Let's Fix This?
We've got to, that's part of my weekend project. Grant.
We're gonna
I've
have a
got
meeting.
Well defined
I'm,
that.
I'm
yes.
very sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
like that.
I gave her a list of ideas, and she said she was excited. So she's super excited. She's at OBU out in Shawnee, and this is going to help us quite a bit. I hope to have her on the pod here soon, maybe next week.
I think we
awesome.
should have
Congrats.
Megan. Well, I say we like I'm a part of this podcast every week.
I mean,
2 weeks in a row.
I feel like a regular. I think you should have Megan pick up a topic each week
Ooh,
for the pod.
that's an excellent idea. I mean, we try to cover whatever's going on that week, but I think having her cover it would be also very helpful. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this week. Crystal, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
Scott, thank you.
We're going to get back into some Lifetime movies
I know. Next week.
next week.
Yeah,
Next
I
week,
haven't watched any this week. So.
I didn't either.
That's
Okay.
right.
We'll do better.
Grant, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and rate Let's Pod This on Apple Podcasts because that helps other folks discover and become better informed. Tell your friends. We also have some stickers we're going to be posting online. If you want a Let's Pod This sticker, hit us up on Twitter or email at podcast@letsfixthisok.org. You can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Fix This OK. Scott is at SC Melson. I am at Andy OKC. Crystal.
At Crystal Dawit.
Crystal Dawit, Dawit.
Yes, sir.
Grant.
At Grant Herms KWTV.
All right, that's like legit. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Let's Fix This OK. Our website is letsfixthisok.org. Sign up for our newsletter, read our blog, find resources and details. We're about to have a whole bunch more stuff coming out, especially because Megan's going to help. Our music's from the Sugar Free All-Stars, and our podcast is edited and produced by Scott and I with help from Mostly Harmless Media. Check out them online at mostlyharmlessmedia.com. There's a bunch of other podcasts they produce that are all local-based, and they're really great if you care about things in Oklahoma. Let's Fix This is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization who strives to educate and equip all Oklahomans to engage with government. We encourage you to get involved in any way you can. And remember, decisions are made by those who show up. Have a great week.